Hi Falcon fans, we're diving into Mel Kiper's final big board for the 2025 NFL Draft. We'll explore some potential targets for the Falcons, especially with their 15th pick and again in the second round. But before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, do yourself a favor and get in on the best free Falcons draft content out there. Now, let's take a look at Kiper's top 10 players. Honestly, I wouldn't get too attached to anyone on this list, except for one standout, Georgia linebacker Jalen Carter. He's a versatile player on the field, and I've heard some impressive things about him. People have said, when we met with him, he knew more about our defense than we did. He's got that future team captain vibe, and you can see why teams would be excited about him. The reason he's not a guaranteed top 10 pick is that he's a bit of a tweener. Last year, he was a fantastic pass rusher for Georgia, leading the team in sacks and pressures, even though he didn't have a ton of pass rush snaps. So, what's the catch? How many 6'1", 243-pound defensive ends do you know? Personally, I don't know many. In a 3-4 defense, you could use him as an outside linebacker. But I think he shines best in a system that values raw talent and flexibility. Take the Eagles, for example. They have a solid defensive roster and aren't starting from scratch. If they can't find a role for Carter, it might not be a good fit. On the other hand, Atlanta is like a blank canvas. With players like Jesse Bates at safety, A.J. Terrell at corner, and Caden Ellis at inside linebacker, there's room to grow. I love the idea of grabbing a top-tier talent like Carter and figuring out the rest later. Even if he doesn't make an immediate impact on day one of rookie minicamp, I trust Raheem Morris to find a way to utilize him effectively. I'd be all in on that pick at 15, but I doubt he'll fall that far. Now, let's check out picks 11 through 20 on Kiper's big board. At number 11, we have Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. There are also some other names to keep an eye on, like Nick Eamon-Warrior, the safety from South Carolina, and Mike Green, the pass rusher from Marshall. Let's take a closer look at Johnson. Standing at 6 feet 1 inch and weighing 194 pounds, he has above-average size for an NFL corner, which gives him good length to handle bigger receivers. From a profile standpoint, it's easy to see why he could be a top 10 pick. However, the downside is that he doesn't have blazing long speed. If he's matched up against a speedy receiver on a go route, he might struggle. But what he lacks in speed, he makes up for with incredible instincts and football IQ. Just look at his performance in 2023 when Michigan won the national championship. 4 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 3 pick sixes. He did miss some time in 2024 due to a turf toe injury and had some issues during pre-draft workouts, but if those medical flags clear up, he could be a steal. While he might not directly address Atlanta's biggest need for a pass rusher, he could be a lockdown corner for the next 8 to 10 years. Let me ask you this. If I told you Will Johnson would have a career similar to A.J. Terrell, would you take him at 15? I know I would. If I could get 2 A.J. Terrells, I'm all in. So, if Johnson is the pick at 15, are you on board? Let me know in the comments below. I honestly think he could be even better than Terrell, and I'm all about the Will Johnson hype train. As for some other names on Kiper's big board, Nick Eamon-Warrior and Mike Green are 2 defensive players that catch my eye. I really don't expect Atlanta to go offense in the first round, and I hope they don't. If they do, it would likely be a tackle to replace Caleb McGarry and provide better protection for the quarterback. But I think Mike Green is a strong candidate for the 15th pick. He stands at 6 feet 3 inches and weighs 251 pounds, making him a solid option. I think Mike Green would likely line up as an outside linebacker. He probably played a bit lighter than 250 pounds at Marshall, so he might have bulked up for the combine to impress the GMs and scouts. He's arguably the best pure pass rusher in this draft class. Well, aside from Abdul Carter, who is out of reach for the Falcons at 15. But after Carter, Green is definitely the guy to consider. Atlanta has struggled with pass rushing since Terry Fontenot took over in 2021. I'm not exaggerating. They've been dead last in sacks over the last 4 years, trailing the Carolina Panthers by a whopping 30 sacks. If the Falcons want to fix that issue, Mike Green is probably the best option at 15. He racked up 17 sacks and 23 tackles for loss, and he had 59 pressures in 2024. Now, there's always a catch with these prospects. Even the top pick, Cam Ward, has his own concerns, which is why this draft class isn't considered the strongest. Green only has one season of starting experience. He started at Virginia, but faced a serious setback with a sexual assault allegation that led to his dismissal from the team and the school. After transferring to Marshall, he was a backup in 2023, but made a name for himself in 2024. If you're looking for someone who can get to the quarterback at 15, he's my pick. The other player I mentioned is Nick Eamon-Warrior. If Green is off the board and the Falcons don't want to reach for someone like Michael Williams or James Pierce, Eamon-Warrior could be the best player available. He stands at 6 feet 2 inches to 6 feet 3 inches and weighs around 220 pounds, running a blazing 4.38 in the 40-yard dash. He has the speed of a safety, the size of a linebacker, and the ball skills of a corner. Seriously, can someone explain why he's not a consensus top 15 pick? I've tried to find some negatives to give a balanced view, but I'm struggling with this one. I genuinely believe Eamon-Warrior will be an outstanding player at the next level. If you want to nitpick, maybe you could say he doesn't have the best fundamentals or angles when tackling ball carriers. In the NFL, he won't be faster than everyone like he was in college, which could be a concern. But I see Eamon-Warrior as a solid plan C for the Falcons if their top 2 pass rushers are gone when it's their turn to pick. Before we dive into more players on Kiper's big board, let's take a moment to appreciate some great meal options. Eating well has never been easier with nutritious meals that are ready in just 2 minutes. You can heat them up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you love. These meals arrive fresh and are perfect for an active lifestyle. Now back to Kiper's big board. He has G.A. Campbell and Malachi Starks coming in at 21 and 22, respectively, with Williams at 24. If I had to focus on a few players from this group, I'd highlight these 4, and it's great that they're in order. G.A. Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, was the standout player on Bama's defense last year. He played more as an edge rusher in high school and showcased that talent in college. If you're looking for players like Caden Ellis who can play inside but also get to the quarterback, both Walker and Campbell are excellent prospects. Malachi Starks reminds me a lot of Jesse Bates, but what sets Starks apart is his versatility. He played all over Georgia's defense, from the slot to the star nickel position. If you want a jack of all trades, he's your guy. Plus, he's like an extra coach on the field, and coaches love that. Lastly, we have Donovan Asoroku from Boston College, who was just behind Mike Green in sacks in 2024 with 16.5. Mike Green isn't the only intriguing prospect out there. Donovan Asoroku, who stands at 6 feet 2 inches and weighs 248 pounds, could also fit in as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense. However, I see him more as a round 2 guy. I'm not entirely convinced he can handle all 3 downs effectively. If he's just a pass rush specialist, that's more of a day 2 pick for me. Then there's Michael Williams, who might be the best athlete in this group. He has great size, a solid frame, and impressive speed, and he's only 20 years old. However, he didn't quite meet the production expectations in 2024. To his credit, he played through an ankle sprain, but really stepped up in crucial moments, especially in the SEC championship game against Texas, where he made some big plays for the Bulldogs. Now, let's look at some players who might slip to Atlanta in round 2. Derek Harmon, a defensive tackle from Oregon, and James Pierce, who comes in at 34, are 2 names to watch. Walter Nolan from Ole Miss could be the best defensive tackle in this class if he can get the right coaching. He has some effort and character flags, but if a team can unlock his potential, he could be a game changer. I want to highlight James Pierce. If the Falcons decide to trade back from 15, I could see the Texans moving up from 25 to grab the top tackle available. They recently traded away their left tackle and have a lot of draft capital, so they might not want to risk missing out on the best option. If they do trade back, keep an eye on Tennessee's James Pierce. Another name to consider is Walter Nolan, who could be a replacement for Grady Jarrett. He's an interior guy who had 6.5 sacks last year at nearly 300 pounds. Some believe he could even surpass Mason Graham in this draft class. The Falcons' defensive line desperately needs an influx of talent, and Nolan could provide that. As for other names to watch in round 2, I'm looking at a few players. Kevin Winston, a corner from Mississippi, is one to keep an eye on. If you want to impress your friends, just mention that Penn State safety who got injured last year. Whatever team picks him up will be thrilled. Xavier Watts is another name to consider. If the Falcons don't go safety in round 1, either he or Kevin Winston could be great value picks in round 2. Now, let's break down a few players. Trey Amos started at Louisiana, then went to Alabama, and finally landed at Mississippi. He's been all over the place, but that's the case for many prospects in this class. Last year, he was fantastic on the Rebels' defense, recording 13 pass breakups and 3 interceptions. Then we have JT Tuimoloau, a big-time recruit for Ohio State. He had a slow start but managed to rack up 6.5 sacks during 4 college football playoff games. Coaches love to see how players perform in rivalry games and championships, and Tuimoloau showed up when it mattered most. Finally, we have Siobhan Revel, a corner who doesn't have the same resume as the others. He's 6 feet 3 inches and 193 pounds, boasting incredible long speed. He missed almost all of 2024 with a torn ACL and started at a community college before making his way to a group of 5 school. If you're looking for a corner with a high ceiling who might fall in the draft, he's your guy. Just be prepared to be patient and provide some solid coaching. So, who do you want the Falcons to draft? Give me a name in the comments. Imagine you're Terry Fontenot for a moment. What's your pick? Before we wrap up, let's give a shout out to our commenter of the day. Big thanks to Mr. Barkus for joining the conversation, and a special shout out to C. Samuels for their comment. Whether it was nice or a bit cheeky, you get 2 claps from us. 1, 2. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all later.